Okay, this video is an introduction to the composition of functions. So what does it mean to take two functions and compose them? So first of all, let's suppose that I have two functions already. So let's say that I have two functions, and they're going to be called f and g. Now, what's one way that I could combine those two functions? One way I could combine them is I could add them together. Now, that's not what a composition is, but let's try something a little simpler to start out. So what does it mean to add them together? Let's say I want a new function that I'm going to call h, and I just want h to be f added to g. So the way I would write that is I would just say h equals f plus g, and maybe it's obvious to you what that means, maybe it's not, but let's say, just in case, to be precise, let's say exactly what that means. So in other words, I have to tell you what is h of x for a number x. So h of x is another number, and I have to tell you what it is. And like I said, maybe this is obvious to you. If I call h the sum of f and g, then h of x is the sum of f of x and g of x. So these two statements here and here may seem exactly the same to you, but really what this is saying is they're telling you that this statement here is telling you that h is the sum of these functions, and this is telling you exactly how to find h of x for a particular number x. Okay, but like I said, this is not what a composition of two functions is. So I'm going to forget about this. So what we want is something a little more complicated. And let me explain in words what that thing is. So one way we can think of functions, these in particular these two functions f and g, is we can think of functions as doing something. So for example, if I take a number x, f does something to that number, and g might do something else. But what do I want in this case? What I want is a new function h. And what do I want h to do? I want h to do whatever it is that g does. So I'm going to write do g. And then I want it to do whatever it is that f does. Do f. Right? And so how would I write that? There's a specific way in math that we have of writing this, and the way we write this is h has a name, and its name is f circle g. And it's written like this, f circle g. Okay? And just like before, I have to be really specific to tell you exactly what h does to a number. So what is h of x? So it's another number, but how do I, if I'm given a number x, how do I find h of x? Well, in this case, I said that first I wanted to do g. So I want to do whatever g does to a number first. So what I should start out with first is g of x. So I've taken a number and I've done whatever g does to it. And now I want to do whatever f does to it. So I'll put this on the outside. F of g of x. That's how that's read. This is read f of g of x. And so sometimes this is called because of the way it's written, sometimes g here is called the inner function, because when we write it, it's literally on the inside. This is the inner function, and f is called the outer function. Outer. Okay, so what's another way that we can think of this? Well, let's say that I have some number x right here, and I want to first do whatever g does to that number. So we can think of x as sort of being taken somewhere or operated on, or however you like to think of it, and where does it go? What number is it taken to by g? That number is called g of x. Okay, and what is this process called? This arrow that I put here, this process is called g. It's called the function g. And then I want to do whatever f does to it. So if this is taken somewhere by f, what I end up with is f applied to this number right here. So I end up with f of g of x. And then what is this whole process called? If I go all the way over from x over to f of g of x, this process has a name, and it's what I've been explaining to you. This process is called f circle g, or the composition of f with g. Okay, and so this is just an intro of what the concept of a composition of functions is, and there's going to be some examples of how to calculate this in some subsequent videos.